to RinHaru Week RADIO, where we gush incoherently about RinHaru while attempting to bring you news about RinHaru Week. We're your hosts and some of the members of the mod team, Julie, also known as Starfairy on all the social medias.
And I'm Kitty, aka Sea Kittens on Tumblr, and on the artist formerly known as Twitter. On Twitter, C is spelled with 2 E's.
Yay! I'm so excited to finally get a chance to sit down and just talk about RinHaru forever, and no one can stop me.
I love the nobody can stop us part. I know my poor friends always have to listen to me gush for hours on about either the movies or just RinHaru in general, and they try to run away.
I know, my friends are so sick of me. They're like, we get it, Julie, you like RinHaru. I'm always bringing my plushies everywhere.
Oh, yeah?
I'm dropping screenshots in the group chat, and everyone's just like, okay, Julie.
But this time we have a captive audience.
Yes.
Who cannot run away, except they can hit pause.
You cannot run away, and you cannot pause this playback. You must listen to us. Well, on the topic of RinHaru Week, this year's event is a special one, isn't it?
That's right. This year marks RinHaru Week's 10th anniversary, and you better believe we're pulling out all the stops to celebrate, starting right here with this little podcast. And make sure you stay tuned until the end to hear about what else we have in store.
So, when we were brainstorming all of the incredible ways to recognize this momentous occasion, we figured we'd start by reliving all of our favorite RinHaru moments together. And we have a great collection to choose from, thanks to all the wonderful submissions from last year's RinHaru Week participants.
We have some of our own too, because, we just couldn't help ourselves.
So, RinHaru fans, did your favorite moment make the cut? Let's find out.
So we decided we're going to go through the entire series in chronological order, starting, of course, with Baby RinHaru!
From the moment I met you, my world kept expanding. Wait, let's save that quote for later. I got really excited.
But it's really great to look back at where it all began because it really just drives home how far they've come together, doesn't it?
And also, they were just so freaking cute when they were kids. Like, Rin with his absolutely shameless crush on Haru, and Haru with his whole, how dare you make me feel things, grumpy attitude.
He was so grumpy. But Rin never let that stop him.
Speaking of which, Kitty, would you like to read the first submission?
Sure. This was an anonymous submission in our Tumblr box. The person wrote, "My personal favorite bit is how baby Rin saw Haru for the span of 2 minutes or less during a race and instantly fell deeply and irretrievably in love with him to the extent that he begged to switch schools. Dignity whomst?"
Dignity whomst. To this day, this is still one of the most unbelievable RinHaru facts to me. Rin switched schools, and he switched swim clubs so he could swim with Haru. Hello? There is no heterosexual explanation for that.
And I love how he just freely tells everybody about this. He has no shame about it.
He's going around to all of his little friends at school I found a guy I really want to swim with, so I'm leaving. Goodbye.
And just breaking all their hearts. All right, well, Cookie for Hope on Tumblr also expanded on this scene a bit from Haru's perspective. The comment reads, "It's a love at first sight, maybe only for Rin, but them already being aware and watching the other being it as a rival, or in Haru's case, someone who feels the water more than him, is so intriguing."
Haru fell in love too, he just didn't know it yet.
I just can't get over that. It kills me every time. All right, Julie, want to read the next submission?
Yes. Okay, this one was submitted by the user Wishful Ada on the website formerly known as Twitter, and it goes like this. "My favorite moment is honestly romantic, right? Because that small scene really cemented RinHaru as my OTP for life. I get so giddy whenever I see it referenced in fics or art."
Absolutely shameless. I admit, that scene just so blew me away when I first saw this, because I didn't even want to watch Free. I was like, oh, it's popular, I don't want to watch it, because I'm one of those. But I watched that scene, I was like, oh, this is so ridiculously adorable.
One of the very first memes I saw about Free was a screenshot of Little Rin's smiling face when he says, romantic, right? And then it goes to Haru's face, and then the caption says, "Oh no, I'm gay." I just think about that all the time. Like,
it's true.
That's when it all started.
His face is just the perfect reaction to that, too.
Yeah, his face is literally, "Oh no."
He got attacked by the feelings.
Okay, let's get into the next one, since it's kind of intertwined.
The next submission from Tumblr user Cookie for Hope. They posted GIFs from the scene when young Rin tells Haru he's going to Australia, and Haru just looks at him.
Honestly, Haru's incredulous look here just sends me every time. He's like, "You gave me all these feelings, and now you're just leaving?"
I love how much baby Haru can emote with just the simplest of looks. Like, you can tell when he's absolutely devastated, or when he's just, like, totally furious at Rin for, like, how he can commune with the water, and it's just, I love all of them.
He's like, "How dare you feel the water better than me?" Like...
And I really think that Starting Days, you really kind of get that whole extrapolation on the whole, "You gave me feelings, and now you're gone, and I don't know what to do with these."
Yes, exactly.
Well, we've got one more submission from the baby RinHaru era.
This submission is from Bad Posture Art on Not Twitter. It says in quotation marks, "Was I lonely too?"
Ah, a line from Starting Days, just what we were talking about.
Yeah.
It's when Haru realizes he misses Rin.
I can't believe it took him that long to realize he missed Rin. Like...
It's kind of incredible how Rin is not in Starting Days until the very end. But he kind of is, because Haru is so obsessed with him and how he left him and how he made him feel, and trying to cope with that lack of presence and just, again, not knowing what to do with these new feelings. And it really comes out in, of course, that final scene when he's reading Rin's letter.
Yes. The letter scene. That's a good one. I also feel like... So in the novel, in High Speed 2, when Haru realizes he misses Rin, it's a little bit different, because he's watching Ikuya and his little friend, who's a girl, from their swim club, and he gets this impression of the two of them that they're, like, a married couple, you know? And when Ikuya's little female friend, I forget her name, I'm sorry, she says that she's gonna go do her own thing with the swimming, and Ikuya's really upset about that. Haru looks at this situation, and he recognizes the same feelings in himself about how he misses Rin. Mind you, just a couple paragraphs ago, he was like, "This is like a married couple." And now it's like me and Rin. Hello?
Oh my god, I completely forgot about that part too.
The novel has so many great gems like that.
I know that the novel also kind of has a scene where Haru is kind of almost trying to embody Rin, and is kind of talking about how he's flying through the water and things like that. And I think it's the scene where he's racing Sosuke. Mm-hmm. And Sosuke is like, I'm Rin. You basically have to catch me.
Yes.
And I thought that was really cool, and I really, really wish that they would have been able to get that into the anime, but oh well.
I think that ties in really nicely to Rin's letter, where, you know, Rin is talking about how he wants to be like Haru, and then, you know, Haru, like, wistfully looks out into the sky and says, "Rin, I want to be like you too." Like,
And we can't forget the most important thing about the letter, about how he pretended that he wrote that letter to Sosuke and sent it to Sosuke, but Sosuke knew he meant it for Haru because he could see all the places that he erased.
Yes. And then it like zooms in on where Rin erased it, and he erased you and wrote, like, that guy.
It's so sad. It's so sad.
Like, he was so shameless about his crush on Haru not that long ago, and now he's, like, chickening out about sending Haru a letter? Come on.
It's getting too real for him now.
It's getting too real. Okay, well, let's get into our next section with our favorite moments from the Season 1 era.
We touched on some of the moments that were technically from Season 1 already, so a lot of these submissions have to do with the finale and the post-finale moments from the drama CDs.
The angst in Season 1 is delicious, but it seems like everyone likes it best when Rin and Haru are happy and on good terms with each other. But I can't say I disagree with that. I like a happy ending to my angst.
But there are so many good things that go on in Season 1. Like, one of the standouts that I always have to mention is when Rin is watching everybody at the festival and he is just sitting there, like, gripping his heart and gripping the fence, and it's just
oh my god,
so
yeah,
much.
That's such a good one. That's really funny. And he like stumbles away. And
yes.
this is while Rei and Nagisa are like tailing him to make sure that he doesn't run into Haru.
Yes. It's just so overly dramatic. I always remember just the clip of that, of him grabbing the fence and grabbing his chest and then just kind of just stumbling away.
I remember when that episode came out, people were editing that scene to make it look like Rin was dancing.
Yes. Always that. That was great.
The memes during the Season 1 airing era were just incredible.
All of them, definitely.
Like, for how angsty Season 1 really was, people just were so unserious with the memes.
There was a lot of things that you could just meme. It was just all full of it. I mean, obviously you have the ending, which everybody loved going crazy with. Obviously you have... Also, let's not forget that the ending is just this symbolic thing, the whole thing.
It's symbolic of, literally, it's Haru is thirsty for Rin. That's what the ending means.
That is what the ending means. It's like, oh, I need water. Oh, it just so happens Rin is the only one who has it.
He has a thirst that only Rin can satisfy. That's
insane.
Literally what it is.
And then, of course, when they all, like, just go and strip at the end, is like, what are you even supposed to be taking from this?
What we're supposed to be getting out of this is that they're gay. That's it.
I mean, that's what I got out of it. Because I'm like, I don't know any other way I'm supposed to be interpreting this. This is literally textual. He needs Rin to quench his thirst.
Okay, but before we get into Rin starting to quench Haru's thirst, I do want to drop an honorable mention for an angsty moment that nobody submitted, which I'm kind of surprised about, actually. So the moment I want to mention is when Rin pushes Haru up against the fence and says to him, "You're going to swim for me."
And then Haru says, "Don't cry if you lose."
It's definitely not the happiest RinHaru moment, but it's just so iconic.
I think what I really love about this moment the most is it's one of the first times that we see, like, Rin's always kind of aggressive in Season 1, but Haru is just, like, pushing back. Like, I'm not even bothered by this. You're gonna be like this? Well, don't cry when you lose.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And Rin's face when Haru says that is like, like, how could you?
He just looks like a sad little damsel, like,
yeah.
It's so funny because he just comes from the whole finding Haru in the dressing room and everything, and then tries to be this badass, but, like, every time Rin pretends to be a badass, it falls apart the second Haru challenges him.
Exactly. And I feel like that's so, like, indicative of who Rin really is, and how he's trying to be somebody that he's not throughout all of Season 1. You know? Everybody kind of ragged on Rin back in the day about how he's too aggressive and he's, like, really mean to Haru, but, like, that's not really who he is. He was just sad. And he was trying to compensate for that sadness by, like, you know, being a 16-year-old boy.
Which is why I think it doesn't even faze Haru.
Right.
Haru's just like, I know who you really are, and
exactly.
You're not fooling anyone.
Yeah.
I saw what happened the last time we had this race. You ended up sobbing and running away and saying you were going to quit swimming forever.
Yeah. Haru just sees right through Rin. He knows who he really is, and he's not buying this whole aggressive act from him.
Oh yeah, we actually kind of forgot that in our Baby RinHaru moment, so that's kind of sad that nobody mentioned that again. Of course, the big race between them when they were in their middle school days.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a compilation of everybody's favorite moment.
Yeah.
I don't think that's anybody's favorite moment.
This is true. But it is an important moment.
Yes. Okay, well, speaking of the submissions, let's get into it. Katie, do you want to read the first one for season 1?
This one was also submitted by Bad Posture Art on Twitter. It says, I want to swim with Rin, which is, of course, a line from Haru.
And his eyes get all shiny when he says it, too. Like, ha!
And this was, I think, a really powerful moment for us RinHaru fans, but of course for the season itself, because it happens right after that really devastating scene where Rin is just too destroyed by his emotions and realizing that he can't be in the relay, and he swims really badly and he can barely get out of the pool, and Haru is just devastated and everything and doesn't know what to do. And
when Haru sees Rin struggling, he runs. Like, he's like, I must go to him.
Yes. Yeah.
And the look on his face, he's heartbroken to see Rin like this.
Both of those scenes are just so painful because you have Rin just looking like he's completely emotionally struggling, and you have poor Haru with his face. Oh.
Yeah. And then, of course,
we have
Rin kicks over the trash can.
Yeah, we have our hero, Rei, who kind of comes over and helps Haru realize how he really feels.
Honestly, that was Rei's primary role the entire season. He's just seeing what's going on between Rin and Haru and is like, I gotta get these two to work things out. Like, I'm tired of this. Get back together already.
And he was really good with it because he just came right out and been like, Haru, what is it that you really want right now?
And he wants to swim with Rin.
And we'll notice that is going to be an ongoing theme when people ask Haru what he really wants, and he has to consider it.
What he wants is to swim with Rin. That's it.
That's it.
This episode is just so chock full of good stuff. Another one of the moments that we got from Matsuoka on Tumblr mentions the entirety of Feelings and Emotions in Season 1, Episode 12. That's the name of the song from the soundtrack that starts playing during the scene where everyone is running around trying to find Rin.
And Haru is screaming his name the loudest. Rin, where are you?
The soundtrack during the scene is really intense. But once we get to Haru and Rin's reunion at the tree, the music becomes so gentle with this delicate solo piano playing Haru and Rin's leitmotif.
The next submission gets into that scene more. Do you want to read that one?
Yes. This one was submitted by Ocean Waters on Tumblr. Actually, Ocean submitted a whole bunch of wonderful scenes, prefacing it all with, there are so many different RinHaru scenes that I love. To choose only one would be impossible.
I agree. That's why we're just talking about all of them.
Right? But since we're going in chronological order, we'll start with this one first. It goes like this. Any of the cherry blossom scenes, but especially, Rin, it's my turn to show you a sight you've never seen before. I have to say, this was the moment for me.
That's right. You mentioned this scene in your submission as well. You wrote, the scene at the sakura tree, and then the hug at the end of season 1. That really sealed the deal for me, and put them firmly in OTP territory, red heart, blue heart.
Can't forget the emojis. I am a serial emoji user.
A bunch of people said the hug, actually.
Yeah, you submitted the hug too.
It's impossible to not submit the hug.
The hug is the moment.
Season 1.
I mean, that moment was incredible to me because I really felt, I didn't think that they were going to go there, but they did. They went there.
It's just really nice to see, really positive male friendships and very intimate friendships, and obviously more.
They're just really good friends. They seem like really good friends.
Shown in a series like this. And like you said, I wasn't sure what they were going to do with the reunion and with the reconciliation of this relationship. I knew it would be reconciled, but I wasn't sure how. And having it done through such like a physical moment was what really sold this series. Why I'm always telling people you should watch Free Season 1. It is the best.
Right. Not only do we get that physical moment in the hug, but also when they're kind of fighting it out and then they roll around on the ground and then Rin is like straddling Haru, crying onto his face. That is not the kind of moment that you normally get from a sports anime, you know?
It's true.
At least I feel like I never would have expected a moment like that. They let Rin be emotional, and they let Rin and Haru be physical with each other in a way that's not just like, kind of clapping each other on the back and,
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. And then on top of it, like when we're talking about the Rin, it's my turn to show you a sight you've never seen before. That is literally shot like a romantic scene.
It is shot exactly like a confession scene in a shoujo anime. Like the way that Rin turns around and all of the, cherry blossoms in their imagination are blowing around, and his hair is fluttering in the breeze, and the way that Haru is framed with his hand reaching out, he looks like a prince reaching for the princess.
And I remember all the creatives, they described it as kind of the bishoujo heroine moment and everything.
Yeah.
When they talk about Rin.
Yes. He's the shoujo heroine in this moment. And Haru is the romantic love interest.
It really is that incredible. I mean, the whole season finale was just way more than I ever could have anticipated.
Right? I remember after episode 11, I was like, there's one more episode left of this season. How are they going to pull this off? And they did. Not only did they pull off the reconciliation, but they made it incredible. I was blown away by the finale of season 1.
It's just really a beautiful scene, and like I said, it's why whenever in the early days after Free, and I would tell people you should watch this, it's great and everything, and they're like, oh, for the fan service. So I'm like, no, as an actual series, you should watch this. I'm not being ironic.
I feel like people wrote it off as a fan service series, but honestly, most of the scenes where it's like, ooh, they're shirtless, it's not really played like that. It's just they're shirtless because they're swimming, There's always one scene in the first episode of every season where it's like, ooh, they're shirtless. But then, they just throw that in the beginning and then they move on from that.
And you have the kind of idea that behind the whole series of this reconciliation between two people and being able to move on from the mistakes you've made and become a better person because you still kind of have that support.
Right.
And I just thought that was such a positive message.
That was something that really resonated with me. At the time in my life when I saw Free, it came to me at the right time because I really needed to see someone like Rin who was really struggling and, was angry and sad and felt like he didn't have anyone to support him. For somebody like Rin to have his friends see how he was and say, we love you anyway, was just so powerful to me at that time that, I could never give up Free because that just, hit me in the right spot exactly when I needed it. And this show really changed my life because of all of that.
And this final episode totally made me cry. I was gushing.
Oh yeah, totally.
It was so sad.
I cry every time I watch it.
Yes. It's just oh, this is so emotional.
I know. Okay, we do have one more submission about the hug. Sapphire Luna on Tumblr wrote, at the end of season 1, after the relay and they hug, Haru's soft smile, and there's a little crying emoji, of course, because we were all crying. And we get Haru's extremely rare smile, but with Rin, it comes to him so naturally.
It's true. In the early kind of seasons and everything like that, we really only saw that really soft smile on pretty rare occasions. Most of them did have to do with Rin. I know as things get going, he kind of became a little bit more open in showing it, but still, we always get the best ones around Rin.
Yeah, like, probably 80% of Haru's smiles in season 1 are because of Rin.
Yes. Yes.
But they always talk about, oh, well, Haru doesn't really smile. He's always smiling on the inside.
It's like, I'm sorry that you are not Rin, so that's why you don't see it. But, hey, just be Rin. There's your solution.
There was that drama CD track as well, where Haru was working a part-time job at the in-universe equivalent of McDonald's, right?
And Rin ordered 10 smiles from him.
10 of his best smiles. Actually, this is based on something that happens in real-life McDonald's in Japan, where smiles are listed on the menu for 0 yen. So, a common prank is that people go in and they order a smile, because it's free.
And Rin is so sassy, he ordered not 1, but 10.
And unfortunately, according to Haru, smiles were out of stock. What a shame.
Haru's so mean sometimes. Speaking of the drama CDs, we've got a whole bunch of submissions from them.
Yes, especially from the drama track on the RinHaru Duet CD. We got 2 submissions for that. First, we have Pippi Lowe on Twitter, who wrote, I have so many favorite moments, but I laughed way too hard when Rin found the graduation album from elementary school at Haru's in the drama CD. The whole sleepover was gold, but my shining almost killed me. With a bunch of laughing emojis.
It does deserve a bunch of laughing emojis. And another one from Ocean Water's list that goes like this. The sleepover audio drama, particularly the part where Haru reads Rin's shining poem from when they were in elementary school, as well as Haru's soft Oyasumi Rin at the end.
When I say the drama CDs are essential to the series, this is what I mean. How can you miss out on stuff like this?
The other really fun thing people used to love about this drama CD was their special dolphin. I forgot what it was. I think it was like a
yeah, there was a dolphin toy that everybody got from the Iwatobi Swim Club. And
yes.
Haru had it displayed in his house, and Rin was like, oh yeah, I don't have mine anymore, and that made Haru kind of sad. But then later on, Rin is like, oh yeah, I just remembered about the dolphin toy. I think Go actually put it up somewhere. And then that makes Haru really happy, like, you know, oh, like you remember, you know, when we first met.
Let's not forget that Rin says this to him as he's trying to, like, rush ahead in their running.
Yes, they're going
he cannot be able to express this.
They're going for a morning jog, and Rin says this and then runs away. Like,
yes. He has to be able to, like, express himself, but then run as far away as possible so Haru can't react.
There was also that part where Rin is staying over and Haru gives Rin pajamas to sleep in. And
yes.
Haru gives Rin his favorite t-shirt with Northern Stoplight Loosestraw-kun on it. Or
yes,
Lucy-kun,
yes,
as we lovingly call
Lucy-kun.
him. So then, of course, there was all that great fan art with, you know, Rin wearing Haru's shirt with the freaky, weird fish character on it.
Which
boyfriend shirt.
Oddly, I think, relates to Rin. I think he mentions this in the the Eternal Summer novel.
No,
or
it's the novelization of season 1, where
it is. Yes,
yes,
thank you. The novelization of season 1,
where he's playing that in-universe equivalent of Animal Crossing, but it's underwater, and
yes,
this Northern Stoplight Loosestraw-kun is Haru's favorite character, and while he's playing the game, he sees the character, and in his narration, he says, oh, I saw it, and I started thinking about Rin. I started thinking about water.
It was water, not Rin.
Yeah.
Never Rin, no.
I mean, it's worth noting that Lucy-kun has sharp teeth, so I feel like there's a connection there. Haru likes sharp teeth. That's kind of he's into that. And of course, Rin also has sharp teeth.
And of course, we see this reoccurring theme of Haru trying to get Rin to wear this shirt again in the, I'm trying to remember how they translate it, but Long Distance Summer or whatever, the CDs that come with the DVDs for Eternal Summer, and he's like asking him again if he wants to wear his shirt and stuff like that. So it's an ongoing thing with this special shirt.
Haru really likes it when Rin wears his clothes. It's like a couple thing.
He does.
It's like a couple thing to be like, you know, oh, you're wearing your boyfriend's shirt, you know?
Yes. And let's not forget how, like, special it is when Rin discovers Haru's, like, equivalent of water porn. And Haru's like, it's a special edition, and you can't have it because it's special, but then later says, well, I'll let you borrow it if you really, really want. It really shows how much he cares about Rin, that he's willing to part with his beloved water porn. Oh my gosh, well, I can't.
Speaking of that other drama CD, the general drama CDs, not just the duet drama CD, are full of good RinHaru moments too. We have another submission that comes off of Ocean Water's list from Volume 1 of the Season 1 drama CDs. And the quote is, Rin, make rainbows again. And Rin says, alright, I'll make rainbows for you. There is no heterosexual explanation for this.
That was just so cute because they are reminiscing on when they were children, and of course Rin was much more open about just saying the gayest things possible.
Yes.
And he would be like, oh, look, I'm making rainbows for Haru, look! And there's this cute little picture of little Rin making rainbows for Haru, and it's juxtaposed against their older forms just kind of hanging out at the pool.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
That was so cute. And we have another submission from Bad Posture Art, and this one just says, crab, 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 crab.
From the Crab Festival track. There's even this cute little art that they actually drew of them saying crab, 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 and competing to see who can catch the crabs out of the bucket the fastest.
And they have, like, fire in their eyes.
Yes! Because they have to compete over everything in that episode, even who can, like, strip the fastest. And of course they're both wearing their bathing suits because Haru always wears his bathing suit, but apparently Rin wore his bathing suit because he knew he was going to run into Haru.
They compete over so many stupid things for so long that all of their friends literally are just like, let's go home. And they leave. Yes. And Rin and Haru are still...
They're coming up with new things to compete with. I remember they do ditch them. Oh my god.
This is like a recurring theme with the two of them. They're just in their own little world, and their friends are like, I think we should go.
I think we should leave. Okay. Yeah, we got one more from the Season 1 era. From Ocean's list, we have the Season 1 end card skit, the Bridal Carry one.
Right. That was the skit that the voice actors performed live at a fan event. And it was based on one of the end cards for Season 1, the one where Rin and Haru are in elementary school having their height measured in gym class, and they're both trying to stand up really straight because they're fighting about who's taller.
So when they were kids, they made a pact that when they were older, the tallest had to carry the other bridal style. And of course, as it turns out, Rin was 2 centimeters taller than Haru by that time. So, of course, he had to carry Haru bridal style.
And of course, Haru asked if he could be in just his swimsuit for it. Why?
I am so jealous of everyone who got to see the actors do this live. it was the only one of their fan events that they didn't record.
How could they?
I know.
If I had a time machine, I would want to go back and see this live.
Yes.
I don't care that I'm not fluent in Japanese. I want to see this happen.
I think this one also had, like, where they thought that Haru had turned into a black cat or something, and they were going around, like,
there were just so many crazy skits. The skits from the fan events are on a whole nother level. They're just insane.
They absolutely are.
And this is another one of those moments where, you know, Rin and Haru were doing this crazy stuff, and their friends are like, what is going on with these two? And then Rei says, those two, just leave them alone. There's something not right about them. Like, they're not right in the head.
He says that something's not right about them. How else can you react to it? With the whole, I have to carry you bridal style. Well, as long as I'm in my swimsuit, that makes it worse, man! There's more skin at that point.
It was Rin who carried Haru, right? I'm remembering that right?
Yes.
Because in real life, the voice actors, Mamoru Miyano, the voice actor for Rin, he's like super tall. So
yes.
I'm trying to imagine Shimazaki Nobunaga, who is the voice actor for Haru, trying to carry Mamoru Miyano, who's like, I don't know, like 6'5".
It sounds freaking hilarious. I think they also reenacted the fence scene at that event, too.
They did! Oh my god, you're right. I totally forgot about that. I remember hearing about that, and they said that Mamo slammed the fence so hard that it fell over.
Yes. During one of the showings, yes. He slammed it so hard it fell over. It's. I think the only thing we have left of that event is somebody did a write-up of it. And there is, I think that still does exist on Tumblr. So that's all we really have physical to remind us of that event.
It lives on in our hearts.
It does. But now we gotta move on to some moments from season 2!
Woo! So, before we get into the submissions for Season 2 moments, I want to drop another honorable mention.
At this point, we could just list every RinHaru moment.
This one is important, though. It's when Rin says to Haru, I'll take that cold expression and make it hot.
Oh, yeah. From the first episode.
Yes.
And their special race.
Yes. Their special race where they feel each other in the water somehow.
Yeah, and we get all those beautiful shots of both of them and their eyes and their pretty hair in the water.
Yeah, and Rin looking back at Haru, gaining on him and smiling. And then they high-five when they're done.
That's right!
And they linger for way too long.
It was Haru learning how to high-five.
Baby's first high-five.
Yeah.
But
he looks so unsure.
Like, when you high-five somebody, you pull your hand back right away.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They just stand there with their hands pressed up against each other for like an entire minute.
Rin really wanted to appreciate that high-five.
He just really wanted to hold hands with Haru, and he was nervous about it, so
this was the best excuse.
He went for the high-five instead.
Yep. This is the best excuse.
Well, I wanted to mention that moment because almost all of the other moments in Season 2 we got submissions for were about the Australia episode.
I mean, of course they were about the Australia episode. That episode just came out of nowhere, practically.
That was a gift. Just like 28 straight minutes of RinHaru.
Like, you have the episode 11 where just everything has absolutely gone to hell, and Haru is like devastated that all his friends are leaving and everything, and it ends on that note, and you're like, okay, this is super depressing. And then you get this out-of-nowhere teaser that they've never done in any other episode. And it's Rin coming basically specifically to ask Haru if he wants to go to Australia.
Well, not only he doesn't ask Haru if he wants to go to Australia.
He doesn't ask.
He's like, pack your bags,
we're
we're going. And Haru's like, where are we going? And Rin says, isn't it obvious? Australia. Like, yes. No, it's not obvious.
Like, knocking on his door obnoxiously. And it wasn't obvious to anyone. Like, we were watching the scene going, what's going on? And then all of a sudden he's all like, isn't it obvious? Australia. We're like, what? What the hell?
And then we get a montage of basically Rin talking in a very sentimental way about how much he loves Haru. He doesn't say that, but it sure does sound like that. And that's when we get that line.
Yes.
From the moment I met you, my world kept expanding. And then he's like, if you look up, I know that you'll see it too, Haru. Like...
Yes, yes.
The way that I have Haru RinRadio memorized.
You really do.
Yeah, that's what the fandom started calling it, Haru RinRadio.
It was, because I think it was like it started out as some, I don't know if it was a leak or a guess, and people were just kind of using this phrase, but nobody believed it was actually gonna happen. So when it did, the fandom basically exploded.
RinHaru fans and Haru Rin fans, however you want to go about it, we are psychic. Like, so many predictions have come from us. Like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen. You know why? Because it's Rin and Haru. And that's how it goes with them. Mm-hmm. We know. We get it.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
I do want to mention that here at RinHaru Week, whether you go for RinHaru or Haru Rin or any other way you want to say it, it's all good here. We love and appreciate all forms of their relationship.
Yes, yes. I think the reason that people chose Haru and Relia, it's just literally a sound preference.
It just rolls off the tongue.
Yes, yes.
So, Kitty, do you want to read off the next few submissions about Haru and Relia?
All right, so Yvette Vet 00 wrote, the visit to Rin's Australian homestay parents was adorable. They were both so cute.
Yes. Russell asking Rin if he has a girlfriend back in Japan, and then the camera focuses in on Haru. Come on.
And them calling him a late bloomer.
And then Rin is like, we don't have to talk about that. Yes, we do. We have to talk about that. What happens? I need to know.
And the fact that both those parents are Haru experts because of how much little Rin used to talk about Haru. They knew everything about him.
Yes.
His favorite food, what he did. It was crazy.
Rin's told us so much about you. I bet he did, Lori. I bet he did.
And his descriptions, eyes as blue as water. Like, why?
Oh, yes.
Why?
Why do you talk about your, like, friend at elementary school like that unless you have a crush on them?
Lori was completely all for accepting. I think Russell was oblivious, but
yeah,
Lori was there for them.
With him being like, you got a girlfriend? Like, I just know Lori was kicking him under the table when he was asking that.
Let's not forget Lori's little wink.
Yes.
That whole thing. Oh my gosh. Continuing from that episode, Ocean Waters wrote, the Australia bed scene.
There was only one bed.
People to this day still find that incredible. People who've never seen Free, when they see that scene, they are just like blown away, and they're like, what anime did this come from? Did this come from a BL?
It's incredible how many, like, fanfic tropes are canon to RinHaru. Like, there was only one bed. Are you kidding me?
The whole way that Rin goes there and tries to get it reversed, and yet Haru is blaming Rin because he's like, oh, this is because of your girly name. Just like, absolutely insane. And let's not forget the result of that and how many people that episode brought to that hotel in Australia.
Yes. So many people went to that hotel, which is a real hotel, the Russell Hotel in the Rocks in Sydney. And so many people went to that hotel so they could stay in room 25, which is the room that Rin and Haru stayed in. And so many people were interested in this that the Russell Hotel actually started selling replicas of the keychain on the hotel room keys that Rin and Haru had. And it's like a little orange phoenix. And it's really cute, actually.
And it made the news!
It made the news!
It made the Australian news!
And there was a picture of, like, a couple of Japanese fans sitting on the bed with their plushies.
Yes! Yes! RinHaru literally made the news, and people were talking about that episode in Australian news.
Yes. Incredible. And, I mean, let's also not forget that when they were sharing a bed, they didn't just turn out the lights and go to sleep.
Of course not.
They had this, like, incredibly emotional heart-to-heart. Like, you know...
With that really pretty music.
Yes. And, you know, Rin basically goes like, hey, Haru, you up? He's like...
Because he wanted to talk.
Yeah. And he's, like, really softly murmuring about, like, I remember the day when I first met you. And it's like, what?
It's like a second ago you didn't even want to be in the same bed. You were just wanting to go to sleep.
Oh my god. We didn't even talk about the most important part of this conversation. Earlier in the episode, when Rin says to Haru, I've always admired you.
Oh, yes.
Hello?
Yes. When they're in the park and he's trying to make Haru feel more comfortable because Haru is obviously reeling from everything that's happened with his friends and his decisions about his future and everything like that. And he just kind of blurts that out to him.
Yeah. And then he stands up and he's like, I feel so much better now. Like, you were really holding that in, huh?
He was really holding that in.
But then, you know, when they get in the bed later, Rin starts the conversation by saying, like, hey, you remember how I said I always admired you?
The whole thing, and he just like, and it's interesting because he starts very soft at first, and he's unsure.
Yeah.
He's just kind of seeing where Haru stands on kind of their relationship right now, and when he's talking about how when he first saw Haru the first time ever in their little tournament and everything, and when Haru shows an actual response saying, yeah, I remember that, and then Rin just opens up.
Yeah. He even rolls over in the bed and is like, oh, yes. Yeah.
He physically opens up. And then he can, like, really freely talk about how he sees their future and how Haru is always driving him forward and everything like that, because now he feels that Haru maybe really is able to kind of get on that level with him now, about how they see their relationship, because Haru did remember the same things he did.
Yes. And then Rin goes on to talk about the race that they had earlier in the season, where Rin was kind of feeling out, you know, how Haru was doing in the water.
Yep. He wanted to see if he could go all the way.
Ugh. I could talk about the Australia episode forever. I have watched it so many times. Actually, another thing on Matsuoka's list was just the Australia episode.
The entire episode?
Yes, the entire episode.
Roasted Dolphin on Twitter summed it up nicely with this comment. Entire Australia trip episode blew me away, and how Rin was able to show Haru all the sights and help him realize his dream.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, right? Like, Haru was in a really bad place in his life, and Rin taking him on this trip gave him perspective. Really, it helped Haru realize that swimming on the world stage is what he wanted all along.
Rin knew it even before Haru did. Going back to the scene where he says, I'll take your cold expression and make it hot. That's how he could tell, because Haru rose to the challenge.
It's incredible how they could just feel each other's emotions in the water somehow. It's kind of intimate, right?
And Rin's reaction when he realizes that Haru is going all out with him, it's just such a beautiful moment. Of course, it's made even better when Haru thinks about it, when they're talking in the one bed, and you have the gorgeous music of Feel My Heart playing, and oh my gosh, I need to stop now or I'll never get through this.
I can't believe that the name of the soundtrack that plays at that time is Feel My Heart.
I remember we were trying to guess, because we got the tracks of the soundtrack before the episodes came out, and we were trying to guess where that song would be.
We never could have possibly guessed where it would have been.
No.
Since we're talking about the Australia trip, I also want to throw in that little snippet of them getting coffee in Australia after Haru realizes his dream and everything's okay again. And Rin is looking at him with this soft expression like, I'm so relieved. Everything's all right with Haru now.
That was in the montage in the timeless medley promise. The coffee date!
Yeah, the coffee date! All those extra scenes like that add so much value to the timeless medley movies. They're not just recaps, they're like a whole new perspective to the story we already know.
This was another one of mine. When Rin does his closed-eyed smile after Haru thanks him when they get back from Australia.
Rin's precious closed-eyed smile.
Yes, his precious closed-eyed smile. I know a lot of people were kind of unsure about how Haru kind of thanked Rin, and how Rin kind of felt about it. And they actually kind of redid this in the Blu-ray to make it even more obvious of how special this moment was, to make kind of Rin did this kind of adorable little squint in addition to the closed eye smile when he was right after Haru thanks him, and he's blushing and everything.
Yeah.
And you can tell how incredibly touched he is.
He does that kind of squint where his eyes wobble a little bit, like he's gonna cry.
Yes. Yes.
It's so good. There is so much that we can say about the Australia trip, but we did get some submissions about other things as well. Believe it or not, the season goes on after the Australia trip. Matsuoka also mentioned when Sakura Pool happens. That's the very last scene of season 2.
That was just so cute.
It was.
How Rin was trying to think of a way to give back to Haru and his friends for everything, for kind of setting up something similar to him at the beginning of the season.
That's right.
They wanted to set up a Sakura pool for him. Unfortunately, it rained before he could swim in it. Because Rin always used to joke when he was a child that he wanted to swim in a pool of cherry blossoms. So he ends up setting this up at the end for everyone else, and everybody is just like splashing around in their cherry blossom pool, and it's adorable and beautiful at the same time.
So
it
cute.
It is. We got some submissions from the bonus content as well. Bad Posture Art on Twitter referenced this line from the MOOC. If we remember the MOOC, that is the special magazine, a line that they released during season 2 that kind of had them all in really wild AU situations.
Yes.
And the line was, "Because I wanted to share these feelings with you." Okay,
we have to talk about the MOOC, because I cannot believe that nobody submitted the bite.
It is true. That's
the bite.
That's the picture that always gets shown on one of the social medias at least once a year, and everyone thinks it's fan art.
Yes. People share that picture and they're like, "What is free about?"
Yes, they always get very confused about it. And I remember the MOOC was also a gift to the fandom, because when they were first released, there wasn't a RinHaru one, and we were enjoying what we had, and then when they had their fan event, they announced this, and it was just such a surprise, and fandom just felt so blessed that we were going to get this special additional one to, really drive home how important these two are.
Yes.
And what we got was just...
Oh my god. First of all, we have to talk about what this MOOC did to the RinHaru fandom. Because the fandom exploded when this happened. Okay?
Yes.
Like, all of these group chats started popping up, and we were all just like, getting together like, oh my god, the MOOC is happening. What do you guys think it's gonna be? Like, we got all these other crazy, skits between the two characters that were featured in all of the other ones. What do you guys think it's gonna be in RinHaru? And I remember we actually had a fan event in the RinHaru fandom that was 30 days of RinHaru kisses, with a different prompt every day. And the idea behind it was, jokingly, we're gonna try to summon a kiss in the RinHaru MOOC.
Yes.
And one of the prompts was on the neck. And then when we got the neck bite in the MOOC, it was like, wow, I can't believe KyoAni submitted to our event.
Yes. And let's forget the bite, how the bite plays out. It's just like not a traditional bite. It's like we're not even sure that Haru is wearing pants in this scene.
He is not wearing pants in that scene. He is naked from the waist down.
He literally just climbed out of a tank while being a mermaid and transformed back into a human. And
no, he was a half fish man. Half fish man. How dare you?
Half fish man, yes. He got out of the water from being a half fish man after Kisame kidnapped him. And he's just coming to save Rin, because Rin is locked in a prison because he failed to save Haru, basically. And he's like only wearing a shirt, and you're like, how is this even happening? And he's just like, Rin, you have to bite me and gain your super strength by drinking my blood.
And Haru could have just stuck his arm through the bars of the jail cell, right?
Yes.
They did not need to go for the neck.
Yes. It was just so ridiculous, the whole thing.
And in the picture, it's like Rin is pulling down Haru's shirt and really burying his face in Haru's neck.
Yeah. And then, of course, which is even funnier, that we had that event of the 30 kisses, because so much of the MOOC is basically Rin taking Haru on different dates.
Yes.
He just takes him to all these random places and is like, does this make your life better? Does this make your life better? Because he's trying to show him how wonderful the world can be outside of his tank.
Right. Which is such a great metaphor for what Rin does for Haru in season 2.
Yes. Yes.
They just made it super romantic for no reason. There's a scene where they go see all of the cherry blossoms in bloom.
Yes.
And one of them lands on Haru's cheek, and Rin, delicately picks it off of his cheek.
Yes. Yes. It's like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
And then, of course, Haru is like, Rin, why are you doing this? Why are you taking me to all these places? And that's where we get that line where Rin says, because I wanted to share this with you. He's like, don't you ever get that feeling where you love something and you want to share it with somebody else? And that's the kind of feeling that you have in a romantic relationship, right? Obviously you want to,
It really is.
Obviously you want to, show your friends stuff that you like, but you don't do it like this.
And then, of course, at the end, we get the reveal that this is just a story that baby Rin is telling Haru. And Haru's reaction is basically, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, he's like, I just had this dream, isn't it great? And Haru was like, are you kidding me?
Yes. Yes. And he's like, oh my gosh. Oh. We also got some great quotes from the staff interviews in the MOOC. That's where we got the line from director Utsumi, who said, Rin and Haru form the core axis of the Free series.
She's right, and she should say it. Free is about Rin and Haru. Like, of course, Haru has all of his friends in the show, and he loves all of them. But the reason that he can come to appreciate that so much is because of Rin. Haru said it himself in the finale of season 1. You were the one who taught me that, Rin. So, even though Haru is surrounded by all of these friends, Rin is the reason for that. So, ultimately, Free is about Rin and Haru and what they mean to each other.
I mean, it is. The strongest moments of the storyline are always about Rin and Haru. They are the motivating factors. They are the catalysts. They are, the epitome of Utsumi's favorite heated rivals and everything that she loves so much. It's just absolutely the best. And I think she always quoted it so well when she basically, I'm going to totally mess this up, but it's essentially, even if Rin and Haru are apart, they will always find each other again.
Yes.
It's like they're just naturally drawn to each other.
Like a magnet.
Like a magnet. We have to wait on Like a Magnet.
We'll get into that later.
We can't go that far yet.
Spoiler alert.
Yes.
The last submission for season 2 was one of yours as well, Kitty. You wrote the entire season 2 DVD interview in all caps. Kitty, I'm going to need you to expand on that more.
So this is basically Rin and Haru just having a conversation. They're supposed to be being interviewed, and they're both kind of responding to the interviewer. And the entire time, Haru is just being the most diabolical tease to Rin. It is the most teasing we have seen. And it was glorious because it was just the whole thing. It was things where Haru was teasing him about how he loves romantic movies. It was him teasing him about how Go would make him do things. And that's where we get the great line, "Oh, you've got it rough, Oni-chan." He just calls it that. And he's teasing him about getting sunburn, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Rin the whole time is trying to appear like he is on top of this, but
He is
every
not.
time Haru keeps coming back, and he's like, "Oh, that was, I don't want to hear that from you."
Yeah. Yeah, Haru is like, "You got all sunburned," and Rin is like, "Shut up, I'm delicate."
Yeah, I'm delicate. And I think he says something, Haru says something to call him weird.
Yeah.
And Rin's like, "I don't want to hear that from you."
Yeah, and he's like really sad when he says it.
He is. He's really sad. But no, I definitely recommend that interview for all RinHaru fans because it is probably some of the funniest content we have ever gotten outside of the duet drama CD with that whole hijinks. It is just beautiful. I wish it were animated. It is just text, but it is well worth it.
It is incredible. Okay, well, that wraps up the season 2 segment. Let's move on to Take Your Marks.
Surprisingly, we didn't get a lot of submissions for this one.
Honestly, Take Your Marks is so underappreciated. I mean, it's probably my favorite installment of the series. It's just so feel-good and campy, but it also really tugs at your heartstrings at times. And I think it really nails the mood of what the Free series is all about.
It was really nice to get this. I remember this one I actually saw in Japan. It just so happened that it was it was out while I was in Japan visiting my friend, so I was made sure we were gonna go see Take Your Marks.
Yes.
And I wrote a review about it and everything. That's how excited I was. Actually, I think I saw it twice while I was in Japan. It's because I had an excuse.
I did get to see it when it was in theaters in the US. which
oh yes,
was great. I can't believe they did that one time.
And we got special postcards in the US too.
We did get special postcards.
Theater date postcards.
Yes, Rin and Haru sitting together at a movie theater, sharing a bucket of popcorn.
Yep. That was nice.
That was very nice.
They didn't have that in Japan. Obviously, they had like the really nice little film strips and everything. But it was nice that they got us these postcards.
Yeah.
So. I know there is one RinHaru moment we definitely have to talk about, but I do want to throw in that you get that really fun moment when Haru is house hunting and Rin ends up calling him to ask him how it's going and everything. And is just trying to get him to be like, just
he doesn't
pick
even
one man. It's
no,
fine.
he doesn't even call Haru directly.
Oh, that's
he's like
right.
He's talking to Makoto, isn't he? He's like
yes.
He's like, oh, did Haru find a place yet? Well, you know, tell him like it doesn't matter where it is that you sleep. Which is a reference to something that Haru said when they were in Australia sharing a bed.
Yes. Yep.
And then later on he's talking about like, oh, I'm you know, thinking about I wonder if Haru found a place yet, and he's talking to Go, and Go is like, you know, you could just ask him yourself.
I forgot. Yeah, this is his thing where he calls Makoto, but is actually trying to talk to Haru because he can't call him. 1, 2, Haru never answers phones half the time.
Yeah,
so
like, to be fair, if he tried calling Haru probably would not pick up. His phone is, like, dead in a drawer somewhere.
Yes, probably. They only really start truly doing phones kind of in the final movie, so... Until then, no. Nobody ever reaches anyone by phone. So, the RinHaru moment that everybody remembers in Take Your Marks is the bench scene.
The bench scene! Yes. So, Roasted Dolphin on Twitter had a really great comment about this scene. It goes like this. The bench scene in Take Your Marks shows how strongly Haru believed that he and Rin were going to achieve their dreams together, even if it was a misunderstanding. Of course, the misunderstanding here is that Haru thinks Rin is going to quit swimming. And I think this is a really strong moment for them, for a couple of reasons.
Not the least of which is how close their faces get in the scene.
Yes! But also, we have to remember that in the past, Rin quit swimming for a while, and for years, Haru thought that it was his fault. So I think his reaction here really makes sense. He's upset.
He's upset enough to actually call Rin himself to get him to come and talk it out. Like, this is communication. That is how upset
Haru finally uses his phone! And not only does Haru call Rin, but Rin receiving this call clearly thinks that this is, like, a big deal. Because he goes and puts on, like, a nice jacket that he was not wearing earlier in this. Yes. Like, oh, I'm gonna see Haru, what do I wear?
Yeah. It's like, what on earth? But I mean, to be fair, Haru calling him is a big deal.
It isn't.
I'm not surprised that he's like, oh, this must be important. I'm going to get fancy.
Is this the first time that Haru ever calls Rin? I don't think we've ever seen him call him before.
I do not think so either. I think it's always been somebody else, and maybe Haru is eavesdropping sometimes to say something, but he's never actually done it. It was like he heard all of the weird phone going on about how Rin was going to quit because he thought his life was less meaningful than a Persimmon or something. And then his reaction to everybody freaking out is he went and called Rin.
The other thing that really makes this scene so strong for me is the context of the Australia trip. Because we didn't talk about Australia enough earlier.
There's just more Australia.
We can always talk about Australia. But, like, Haru realized his dream because Rin took him on that trip. So in the bench scene, Haru was kind of like, you can't just take me on this life-changing trip and then be like, oh, never mind, I quit swimming. How dare you?
I think what makes this scene so incredible and also hilarious is Rin's reaction to how intense Haru is. He just is like on his back practically while Haru is almost climbing over him.
Haru is climbing over him
to yell at him.
And their faces really did get so close. I remember when the movie first came out in Japan, all of, the Japanese users on Twitter were, like, furiously drawing diagrams of this scene to indicate how close their faces got. And for a while, in the Western side of the fandom, that was the crumb that we had to go on.
That was all we had.
That was all we had. We just, like, lost our minds over that for months until we got to see the movie.
And then you have that incredible swirling star vision above them, the starscape, that just makes that scene 20,000 times romantic. And it's so funny because when you read what the creatives say about this is they originally wanted this to be a very comedic moment and everything, but RinHaru's actors were just so into it and so dramatic, it became what it became. They
were so sincere about, like, their feelings for each other.
Yes. So it's like, nobody can escape RinHaru. Even when you're, like, trying to, like, make it more funny, it just creeps in with how truly sentimental and powerful it is.
Yeah, I remember director Kawanami was like, when it's these two, it's just gotta be like this.
Yes, he said that. Okay, so I think we can move on to the next segment and talk about Season 3.
Okay. Season 3 was kind of a weird time in the Western side of the fandom, since it came out so much later than Seasons 1 and 2, and a lot of people hadn't seen the movies in between. Like Take Your Marks. Nobody saw that, apparently.
Yeah, they didn't, so and the whole point behind the movies and Take Your Marks, especially for Starting Days, was to introduce some of these characters that were going to be really important in Season 3, and since people hadn't seen those, it was like, who are these new people?
That frustrates me so much. I remember, when Season 3 came out and everybody being like, I'm so lost, what's going on? And people were coming to me and saying, Julie, I'm trying to watch Season 3 of Free, but I don't know who these people are. Can you tell me? And I'm like, and I would always say, just watch the movies, Watch Timeless Medley. Yes, it's a recap movie, but you still need to watch it. Watch Starting Days. Watch Take Your Marks. There's 4 movies you need to watch before Season 3. Like, and a lot of Western fandom just didn't know about it because the distribution just, didn't make it over here to the English-speaking fandom. Which I think is really a shame, because it kind of did irreparable damage to the fandom.
People really thought that Free ended with Season 2, and when Season 3...
They really did.
When Season 3 came out of nowhere, people were like, oh, Free's alive again? I'm like, what do you mean alive again? It's been alive for, the last several years! It never died!
It never left if you were paying attention.
The other thing about Season 3 that I think is interesting is a lot of the promo and marketing material for it really made a lot of us RinHaru fans excited that this was going to be Rin and Haru going into the Olympics and everything like that, and that they were going to be together a lot, and that didn't really happen. They were kind of separated for most of the season. So it kind of was a little rough for us who were watching it week to week as it was airing.
Yeah, I was not having a good time with that. But despite how rough it was, we did get a lot of really great RinHaru moments, didn't we?
We did! The first Season 3 submission comes from Dragon of Timeless Blue on Tumblr, who absolutely gushed about this scene in the first episode. I think this was the most extensive of all the submissions we got. And
it's paragraphs.
It is. It's also very poetic the way that they wrote this thing. One of the RinHaru moments that I treasure the most, and that I don't talk about so often, is the pool scene from the first episode of the third season. That moment screams soulmate so much that I can't help get excited every time when I watch it. It's a parallel scene in which no words are said, but what is felt and shown speaks for itself. Rin and Haru are connected in a way so deep and surreal that they feel each other's presence when they dive into the water, despite being literally a continent apart. What can be more beautiful than that? Like, dude, look at their faces! Both for a moment believed that they would find the other in the opposite lane. I know it's a short scene compared to the others. However, I think it is one of the things that the third season achieves best among everything it did not achieve. Show us the unbreakable bond of those who are the soul of the series.
The core axis!
And of course, we have ended this with a, happy, smiley face and the blue and red hearts.
Of course, gotta have the emojis.
It was great to have a first episode scene that really nailed how important they are when it comes to motivating the other, especially since we wouldn't see them actually together for a long time. Cry.
This scene was lovingly dubbed the telepathic race by the RinHaru fandom. Oh yeah, another one of the scenes Matsuoka submitted on Tumblr, it's just listed as telepathic race.
This really was such a incredible opening, and I think it's part of the reason that the RinHaru fandom was kind of a little shaky for the rest of the season, is because this set us up.
It really did.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be incredible. We're going to get to see them talking or envisioning each other all the time, and they're going to have this awesome telepathic connection throughout the entire series, and it so got fandom excited.
And then we just got nothing for 8 episodes.
Yes. But I will say, we did live on this episode for a long time.
We sure did.
It sustained us. we would go back to it when we were sad and watch it again and remember what it means.
But we did get some good RinHaru when we finally did get them back together again later on in the season. The number one favorite moment that Matsuoka wrote in their comment was this. My favorite RinHaru scene is when in season 3, Rin and Haru decide to go to the high school regionals together. I was just about to call you, Haru, and then when they run so they get there in time, that's so old married couple of them to me.
Yes, Drive Date!
Drive Date was my favorite part of season 3. Rin and Haru spent hours together alone in a car. What did they talk about spending all that time together alone?
Luckily, we didn't have to wonder, because we got an entire track on the season 3 drama CD dedicated to their drive.
The drama CD is the best part of season 3, and I'm not just saying that because it gave us the Drive Date track.
Of course.
I'm also saying it because Drive Date is the cover of the drama CD.
Remember how the fandom was like, oh my gosh, when that CD cover came out? Oh my god.
It's such a good cover too. It's just Rin and Haru leaning on the side of the car looking up at the stars.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And Rin is kind of glancing over at Haru with a smile on his face.
Yes. Yes. It's a beautiful cover.
It really is.
It's one of the prettiest ones that they have. It's just really romantic. You can't look at that and not say romantic.
Yeah.
A few people mentioned the Drive Date in their list of favorite moments as well.
I love that people were just submitting entire lists of RinHaru moments. It gives us a lot to talk about.
Wishful Ada on Twitter included Drive Date as runner-up to their favorite scenes, saying, "Haru's soft tone lives in my head rent-free." Lots of heart emojis.
We get another sort of Oyasumi Rin moment here, with Haru speaking softly to Rin after Rin falls asleep.
Oh my gosh, it's so cute
It's
when
so
he talks to Rin after Rin falls asleep. They speak to each other so softly for a lot of that episode of the drama CD.
They really do.
They joke too, but they're pretty soft to each other. It's like kind of, they're not around everybody else, so they're not in their pure competition mode that everybody else sees them in, and they're not in kind of their snarking at each other, and we really get to see a really gentle side of RinHaru in this CD.
And it's not really unique to this CD either. They're like this when they're together alone.
Yes! Yes! And I think that's what the CD is really trying to showcase, too, is that when they are alone and when nobody's watching, more or less, that they can really kind of intimately have this connection and talk about things that, you know, about their lives and about how they're doing. Because this is the first time we also really see them talk about training and how they were getting through school.
Right. Like hey, how's it going?
That in season 3. Yeah. It's season 3, like I said, nobody has phones in this season. So practically nobody really talks to each other. So this was great to really have this. I think we should also mention, related to this, the season 3 extras, the interviews and all that.
Yes.
When, again, we did get more of this RinHaru kind of casual checking in with each other and seeing what the other was doing and sending each other recipes.
Yes.
And just really cute things that I wish they had put in the season.
I know. Those were in the Spotlight Color merchandise, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
in the interview with Rin, the entire interview is literally just the interviewer is asking these very general questions about, you know, how training is going and whatever. And without, unprompted, Rin brings up Haru in almost every single answer.
Yes.
They're talking about, you know, you're a swimmer, so how do you get, you know, your nutrition and whatever? And Rin is just like, I think Haru should eat more meat. Like, that was not the question, sir.
No. Oh my god. I really 100% always say that the best things of season 3 are the extras.
Yes.
Because I think, just in general, they are the moments that, because they're not being so driven by the story, that they can really give us what we really like in Free, which is the guys vibing together.
Yes.
And you get a lot of that in the extras, in the drama CD, in the Spotlight interviews, in the interviews that come out with the DVDs themselves. It was just, I was so happy when we started to get this, because I was like, this is what this season is missing. This is Free.
I'm going to mention Australia again, because we also got in those interviews Rin and Haru talking about when they were in Australia. And they talked about going shopping together and picking out souvenirs for all their friends back home. Like, this is what I want. I just want them, like, hanging out.
I think one of the interviews also kind of talks about, because in season 3 we see that Rin brings back a boomerang for Momo.
Yes,
and
that's right.
He's like so excited about it. But we find out in the interviews that Rin actually also bought souvenirs for Haru. And again, you wouldn't know this from the season itself. It's only things you learn about from these extras.
Right. Okay. Well, that's everything from season 3. Let's move on to the last bit. Final stroke.
Yay! Before we get into Final Stroke, actually, we should talk about Road to World. And this is kind of a restructuring of season 3. And it's also kind of what I tell people to watch when I say, if you don't want to watch season 3, you should just watch Road to World, because it captures the most important elements of the storyline. But
it literally takes those, like, 7 or 8 episodes we spent just kind of, putzing around, and just compresses it into about 10 minutes.
And most of the opening. It puts them mostly in the opening. But what it really does that's really special is it reworks the entire RinHaru reunion scene. Now, I think I'm one of the few people who actually really does like the one that we got in season 3, but I will admit that they did a lot of work on it for the Road to World movie, and it really comes across as much more intimate and close and at times romantic than the season version did. So I did want to give that a shout out, and that's kind of in between these two because it's technically a retelling of season 3.
I'm telling people you gotta watch the recaps. They are not just, like, compilations of what you just saw. They are different.
They are. They are very, very different.
That scene was, like, really romantic, though. They were watching the sunset together.
I know, and they're, like, staring forward and everything.
Yeah.
And they're just, like, Rin is really feeling about how Haru is really getting into this now. It's more than just, me, which is very important, but that he's being driven by other rivals as well. So
right,
that was I really do appreciate both versions of that scene. But it was nice that they were, they gave us a whole new one again, just for us.
They did that for us.
Yes. So, Final Stroke is honestly just RinHaru the movie.
Honestly, when you first saw Final Stroke and you said that, I hadn't seen it yet, and I thought you were exaggerating. But you weren't.
I always make a joke, especially about Final Stroke Part 2, it is basically Kanamami wanted to make a RinHaru AMV, just a series of RinHaru AMVs, and that was going to be his movie, and then he realized, oh, I have to put plot in this. And that is how it comes across sometimes, in the best way.
Yeah. It really is an AMV. We get music and a montage of RinHaru scenes across the years. Like, and it keeps going. It's like a solid 3 minutes long. It is an entire AMV.
And then, of course, you have the first part of Final Stroke, which is basically the Australia episode again. The only difference is now you have Akuya trailing along, just watching RinHaru be completely gay the whole time, and just like,
yeah,
I don't think these two realize how gay they are. It's just great.
They go to the aquatic center where in season 2 Australia episode Haru realized his dream, and Ikuya looks at them and he's like, I get the feeling that this place is really important to you too. And Rin and Haru were just like, yeah. that first movie is literally just so much of Akuya just looking at these two being like, yeah, you have an interesting relationship. Do you realize this? just oblivious to him the whole time. Yeah. That's right. After, because at the tournament in Sydney at the World Championships, Haru advances in his event, and then Rin doesn't. And neither does Ikuya, but, Rin and Ikuya are kind of sadly looking out to the sea, being upset that they lost their races. And Ikuya turns to Rin and he says, were you happy that Haru won today, or were you frustrated with it? And Rin's reply is, my relationship with him isn't that simple. And then we get, as he says this, we get this montage of, things in the past between Rin and Haru, all of these moments between them. And it's like, what exactly do you mean by your relationship with him is not that simple? Like, in the context of all of these scenes that you're showing us, hello?
And I think that's Akuya's, mental reaction, too. I think even before they go into the tournament, he's trying to have a conversation with Haru about his relationship with Rin, and Haru says the same sort of vague shit, and Akuya's like,
yeah,
what is with these two?
Yeah, I remember he's like, he says something about, how Haru feels about Rin going to swim right now, and Haru says, I know how he feels about competitive swimming, with this, glimmer in his eyes.
They're so ridiculous. I can't with them. But after that, I know we don't. After the tournament, they kind of all focus on training, so they're not together again until Christmas time. And this is again where we realize that these two just don't communicate. are kind of talking about how they feel about everything for the first time ever. He's like, how do you feel? And Rin's like, well, I'm pretty frustrated. And it's like, you literally had months. How have you not had this conversation before now?
I really like that moment between them, though, because Haru asks Rin, how are you doing?
Yes.
In that kind of way. And
yes.
Rin is honest about it. He's like, I'm not doing too good. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is growth for them.
It is.
They've come so far. They can talk about how they feel with each other and be honest about it. I mean, of course, you have to put them in the same room because they don't freaking use their phones.
Yeah, I wish the creators realize phones exist sometimes. But yes, it was nice to really see them be that open and honest about their vulnerabilities with each other.
Yeah. But then they kind of, later on, get a little too honest with each other.
Yes. Let's go into
that. The first submission we have for Final Stroke comes from that scene. Bad Posture Art quoted the line, "The reason I have this feeling of wanting to fight now is because you were there, Rin." Which is what Haru says to Rin in the last scene when they have that devastating fight by the tree at the elementary school.
Gosh. And they even have the nerve to play their song.
To play the leitmotif.
Yes. It is so cruel. That entire scene.
It is I do not say that it's devastating lightly. I fell off the couch when I first watched this. I am not kidding.
So many people just walked away from the theater just oh my God.
I remember they were saying that people walked out of the movie theater after seeing this and were just sitting on the floor staring off into space.
It reminds me of people having seen the end of Evangelion and the exact same reaction, just kind of sitting on the floor staring off.
This really was our end of Evangelion.
It was. And everybody trying to explain before we got to see it, how the ending was both wonderful but also heart-wrenching. And you're trying to understand.
It was wonderful because it brings us back to the core axis of the series, which is Rin and Haru's relationship, and how that drives them in their swimming careers. Mm-hmm. But I think what makes the scene so devastating is that they know each other so well, they know exactly what to say to hurt the other person. When Haru says to Rin, "In the end, you always disappear." that hurts so much because in a way he's right. Rin was always kind of bouncing around doing whatever it is he felt like he needed to, and up until this point, I don't think he realized just how much Haru missed him.
Rin finally starts to realize in part 2, right? We get that monologue from him while he's running around searching for Haru.
I love how that parallels Haru running around searching for Rin in season 1.
Oh, yeah,
just
definitely.
Great. It's great.
We got another anonymous submission about that, actually. It goes like this. My favorite scene in Final Stroke 2 is when Rin is running through the city, searching for Haru, and finds him after seeing the Sakura tree. Maybe they didn't get to see the one at the elementary school in bloom, but Sakura still brought them together, and I think that's beautiful.
I have to confess, this is now my new favorite scene. Rin's internal monologue while he's running is crazy. I cannot believe what they did here.
It really does sound like someone realizing their true feelings.
Right?
Word for word, someone realizing their true feelings and that, oh, well, I realize now I pushed you too much and I didn't consider enough of how you felt, but now I do, and I shouldn't have done that because I understand how deeply I care. And it's like, what is going on? Is this actually a canon romantic scene right now?
And this is right after Rin approaches Haru's coach because he heard that Haru is not training right now, and yes. Rin is pissed about this. He shoves Haru's coach, like grabs him by the collar and is like, how could you let this happen? And Haru's coach is like, if you feel so strongly about it, go tell him yourself.
Yes.
And Rin does. I mean, Rin has this like face where it's like, oh my god, I really messed up here. But he goes and he starts running and looking for Haru, and Makoto is running and looking for Haru too, but Rin is running.
Yes. He really is.
I rewatched this scene just before we did this recording, and I took notes because I really want to break this down for you here. So, first, Rin goes to Haru's apartment, and Haru isn't there. And then he has a flashback to Haru saying that "you always disappear" line. But it's twisted a bit. It's not the same angry Haru we saw in part 1. But he's speaking softly, and he looks so sad. He says, "You always disappear, don't you?" Like, this is how Rin is remembering this moment now. Not as a heated fight between the two of them, but as Rin essentially being the one who broke Haru's heart. And that's when Rin starts running, and he's thinking to himself, I'm so selfish. What have I done? And then we get this delicious montage of all of these RinHaru scenes, and Rin is like, I was pretending not to notice your feelings. Like, hello? What is this line? Like, while he's having flashbacks of Haru's smile, is anyone else seeing this?
How he actually finds Haru is also insane. When he just, like, falls as he's running because he's exhausted and he's still beating himself up, and he just looks up and he sees the cherry blossom tree, and like through its leaves, somehow on the top of the roof, he sees Haru. No normal person would have been able to tell that was Haru. That was a vague.
He sees a tiny little speck.
He has like Haru vision.
Actually, with that line, I read that Mamoru Miyano, Rin's voice actor, actually questioned that line in production because it sounded really romantic to him too. And the directors were like, oh no, just play it straight.
But he played it gay.
He played it gay. He did that for us.
Mama always does special things for us.
And then, of course, Rin trips and falls and, like, really tumbles. And he's laying on the ground and he's like, I'm so pathetic. And then he sees Haru through the tree.
Like I said, I have no idea how he could tell that was Haru. I couldn't tell that was Haru, and I was watching a screen, and I was like, dude, how? Are you just like eagle-eye visioning on him? I think it was just the power of the cherry blossoms and Rin's gay that allowed him to tell.
The power of cherry blossoms and gay brought them together. And then Rin uses his phone, and he calls Makoto like, I found him. And Kitty, I know you want to talk about this next part.
So this is the scene that just cracks me up and it destroys me every time I watch it, and also when I tell people about it. It's that Rin goes to the night pool. He's looking at Haru, and he has called Makoto to come and find them. And Makoto is God knows how far away. We last saw him at the beach where they were in season 3 when Haru was yelling about how he wanted to win into the ocean. And honestly, I think people have done math. It probably would have taken him like at least an hour to get from there to where they were, to the night pool. You have to imagine that Rin is just staring at Haru in the pool the entire time, saying absolutely nothing. He's just standing there like the sad little creeper the entire time. And finally, Makoto actually gets there. And Rin just, as soon as he gets there, just kind of nudges him to the side and goes to talk to Haru. It's the most insane thing I have ever seen.
Like he was waiting for Makoto to show up just to be like, I got this, bro. Like, why couldn't you do this on your own?
Nobody has been able to explain this. I have read all the interviews from all the creatives about this scene, and nobody has explained why it played out the way it did. I crack up every time, but I also just like completely lose it.
I think Rin just wanted to stare at Haru longingly for a little bit. He needed a moment.
And Haru is literally just floating on his back the entire time. And Rin is just like looking at him. It's just so...
For like an hour.
For an hour! It's just so sad. I don't know. Maybe he needed Makoto's presence to feel like the courage to walk forward. I don't know.
He needed that moral support.
Yeah, he needed that moral support. Anyway. That brings us to the next scene. So, Ocean Waters wrote the night pool from Final Stroke 2. Just, yeah.
Yeah.
That is honestly the best way that you can put this.
This is another one of those scenes that's just like, I can't believe they did this.
Just the fact that it starts out with this music that is awesome, but literally sounds like techno porno. It's incredible. Just have this swim where you see both like Haru realizing that this is what he was missing, and it relates back to the beginning of Final Stroke 2, or one of the beginnings. There's many beginnings in Final Stroke 2, but one of them where we see Haru kind of doing his interview, and he's being asked, like, what's the most important thing to him, and what changed his life. And, like, obviously all these answers are Rin, which we can see because immediately after he's being asked of that, he flashes back to all of his childhood experiences with Rin, including one that involves them somehow turning into sentient superheroes. And
holding hands,
because that's...
They held hands!
That's what's going on! But when you compare compare that and those questions that are deep about what are you swimming for? What changed your life? To
literally, no, it says, like, who changed your life?
Yes.
And then it immediately cuts to Rin.
Yes.
Like,
and then when you pair
there is no getting around that.
With the night pool, where Haru just kind of comes alive while he is swimming with Rin. This literally is textually saying that Haru needs Rin in order to really move forward. Like, that is how super connected they are. It is complete.
It's crazy because the entire, I don't know how long it was, the first 20 minutes of the movie maybe, it's just Rin and Haru separately being sad and missing each other.
Yes.
And doing absolutely terribly with their swimming because they're not on good terms with each other.
Yes.
And because they're not getting along at this time, they suck at swimming right now.
Yes. And you have that lovely scene with Rin just looking the most depressed ever in the laundromat.
Yeah. Literally, like, head in his hands, not saying anything.
Being confronted by Asahi, and Asahi's all like, don't worry, everybody's rooting for you, everybody cares, and Rin's just like, I don't know if Haru does it.
Yeah, Asahi is like, well, all of your friends, like, are worried about you, you know? They don't want to see you like this. Like, Makoto and Haru. And Rin is like, Haru? Would he care? Like, of course he does, you idiot!
He's so ridiculous. But yes, when you kind of cap that with the night pool, and obviously the best part of the night pool, we get that incredible return of the hug.
The hug! Everybody's favorite scene! Again!
It is just so great to see it again. And it's different this time because while Haru did kind of lean into the hug a little bit in season 1, you can see him, like, really, like, fully relax with Rin in this version of it. And it was just so wonderful to see again because it's been so long since these two have been able to hug each other since season 1. So it's like, oh my god, they can finally hug again. It has the weight has been lifted, I guess. The restriction on them being able to hug each other.
They hug, but they, like, really linger in this hug.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, while they're hugging, Rin is apologizing for the fight. And so is Haru. They're both, you know, apologizing about, you know, saying, like, such terrible things to each other. And Rin kind of, like, squeezes Haru tighter and, like, leans his head against his. And Haru buries his face into Rin's neck. Like, they are really hugging it out here. Like...
And of course, Rin confesses to Haru again in the middle of this hug because...
Of course he says again, I've always admired you. And then he says, don't make me keep saying it. No one is making you say this, Rin.
You just say it all the time. That's just what you say to Haru from now on. It's just kind of hilarious. He says it at least once a season now, so...
And then, of course, while all this is going on, the camera kind of pans out, and you see Makoto, like, standing awkwardly on the side of the pool, just, like, looking at them.
That's another one of
that
those
cracks
decisions.
me up every time.
That's another one of those decisions where I'm just like, what were you trying to convey here, guys? And of course you get Makoto's super gay vision of them as, like, children together, like at the cherry blossom tree coming together again, and I have no idea. I have no words.
Yes.
There are just no words for the entirety of the night pool scene.
And then they, you know, they're all just kind of chilling and, like, talking about their feelings, you know, as they do in this show. And Makoto tells this really long, drawn-out story about when they were kids and Makoto trying to support Haru and all of this stuff. he spends like a good 5 minutes telling the story. And at the end of it, Haru is like, I don't remember that. It was too long ago. Like, are you kidding me? And I want to mention this because contrast to when Rin was talking to Haru about, I remember when I first met you at that tournament. And they didn't even know each other at the time, but Haru was like, yeah, I remember that too. Like, this is just devastating.
Like, even Rin can tell that this is super awkward because he tries to be a wingman for a second there and is all like, oh yeah, I remember that time too because that was yet one of the other times that I had first heard of Haru. I swear, every new season or movie introduces a new way that Rin first saw or heard about Haru. So this is the new part of the lore.
The new part of the lore.
Before he actually saw him swim, he heard about how he beat these older kids. The lore just expands.
The lore expands and it does not stop expanding.
The other thing about the Makino thing is it's just like so funny is that I think that they kept trying to show that he was trying to tell Haru something this whole time in Final Strokes 1. So you kind of get the feeling that this was that climax. This is what he has been trying to tell him this whole time, is he's trying to, I guess, convey his support and how Haru can do this and everything like that. So Haru's like brush off, which is a very Haru thing, may I add, is just so much worse.
He's so mean sometimes.
He really is.
I do want to mention the song that plays during Rin and Haru's race. On the soundtrack, it is called Like a Magnet. Rin and Haru, drawn to each other, like a magnet. Incredible.
I remember when I heard this song, and I had not seen the movie yet, but I heard this song, and I was trying to wonder, where on earth would this go? And then I was looking at someone who had connected all of the songs to the parts of the movie, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the night pool. And seeing it in person, because I literally went to Mexico to see this.
You're insane.
Because, yeah, it wouldn't come out in America, so I had to go to Mexico. So seeing this in the theater with this music was just like, wow, that really is the music for this scene. But to be fair, when you actually listen to the lyrics for Like a Magnet, they're beautiful.
They really are. That song moves me.
Mm-hmm. That line of, can you see the endless horizon? It's not that far. It's just, oh my gosh.
Yes.
It's really pretty.
Yes,
and you never expect lines like that coming from this song that basically, again, sounds like a techno porno. But it's beautiful.
Yes, it really is. And then at the end of this whole thing, after the guys have all talked about their feelings, Haru starts talking about how racing with Rin kind of gave them this feeling that he's approaching something and he feels like it's just out of his grasp and he's reaching for it. And then we get this line from Rin. So Bad Posture Art submitted this as one of their favorite moments. They wrote, "Then shall we try and find it together?" So this is Rin saying that to Haru after Haru was saying he was feeling like he was onto something while swimming with Rin. So Rin is saying, well, why don't we just train together?
What a novel concept. And they actually do. And this is honestly my top RinHaru moment, believe it or not. Whenever people ask me this, they're shocked. This is the one I choose. But I just love how it brings everything full circle in the moment when they're training in the pool together and you see them cross on the other side of each other and they're both smiling so brightly. And it perfectly parallels what happened in their first big race against each other in season 1, when Rin was so delighted to be out swimming Haru, and Haru was devastated. You see that same cross where Rin has his shark tooth victory grin, and Haru is just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And now you finally have them together as God intended. It's poetic in every way, and I had been waiting to see this for so long.
We get that same shot of Rin smiling while looking at Haru, but this time Haru smiles back. We get a Haru smile because of Rin once again.
Yes. I think for so much, even after season 1, I had been waiting for this they train together thing. And they kind of reference it in some of the extras that they do it, but we never see it. And it's so sad. So to finally have it, to have these two actually training together was just so important to me, and what I had been waiting for the entire series since season 1.
I also want to point out that while they're training together, Rin is still not going to be swimming freestyle in the upcoming tournament. That's what their whole fight was about in the first place. But now he's just swimming free with Haru because he wants to. Like, of course he's not going to stop swimming free entirely for the entire year. He's still going to train. But I think he's probably swimming free a little more often than not, just as an excuse to swim with Haru again.
I agree. That's the main reason he's doing it. He knows, I mean, he said it before, all the way back in season 1, in one of his first interviews, where he was a super cranky man, that he chooses to swim free because Haru won't swim anything else.
Yes,
he wants
that's
to swim
right.
with Haru, he has to swim free. And that's the way it's always been. Though we know technically Haru can swim all the types, since he did that in the IM that, of course, Rin didn't get to see because we can't have nice things, so.
Yeah. Haru swam in IM in season 3 once, and then never again. And it's never mentioned again.
And said he's never going to do it again. That was it. So we know he can do the others, but he loves his free, and because Rin loves his Haru, he will swim free with him.
I really want Rin to see Haru swim butterfly.
I know, so do I. He was so amazed when he heard that he did the IM.
Because, you know, butterfly is really Rin's stroke. And for Haru to swim that, I feel like there's no way that Haru can go and swim butterfly and not channel Rin. Right?
No, definitely. He kind of has to.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he really knows butterfly with. Obviously, he's got Rei and all that, but and Asahi. But, everybody swims everything in this final movie, so I get confused. But, yeah, it's mostly he's going to be thinking of Rin while he's swimming butterfly. So, it would be nice to see Rin reacting to that.
And then imagine, like, a scene with Haru swimming butterfly, and you get one of those memory flashbacks of Rin swimming butterfly, and then Haru smiles. Yeah. I want that.
That would be so nice. That would be so nice. It wasn't mentioned as one of our submissions, but we definitely have to talk about after they swim their final relay together and win and everything like that, and Haru dies of swim or whatnot, and Rin literally cradles him in his lap while
Haru dies in Rin's arms.
Yes, he dies in his arms, and he's like literally trying to, wake him up, and is, Haru, and it's just like, what is this?
Well, like,
that was another thing they did not have to do.
Rin is cradling Haru with one hand, like, behind his back, and the other hand is, like, kind of on his thigh?
Yes! Yes! And again, they did not have to do that.
They did not have to do that.
And anyone else could have caught Haru in a reasonable position, but no, it's just this super ridiculously romantic cradling his dead love scene going on here. Oh my my god, there's too many moments in Final Stroke 2 that are just so special when you think
It's special in good ways and also ridiculous ways.
Yes, yes. Oh.
And of course, the movie ends on a RinHaru note.
Very important.
Very important.
Very important.
Free starts and ends with RinHaru.
Mm-hmm. As it should be.
As it should be. Core access and all that.
Core access and all that, yep.
Rin and Haru finally reconcile, meet each other again at the railroad crossing in Hungary. Because they can't ever...
in Hungary.
Because they can't ever meet each other in a normal way.
No. Oh, the symbolic railroad crossing.
Yeah.
And I love how they're literally standing in the middle of the track. They can get hit by a train. But, yeah, they don't care. They're fine.
But I do love the symbolism of this, because,
yes.
You know, we're drawing parallels to when Rin and Haru were kids, and they met each other over winter break that one time, and that was the race that, after Haru beat Rin said, "I'm done, I quit swimming." But at that time, they met each other at the railroad crossing. So Haru's memory of that scene has all of this symbolism about the railroad barrier coming down and closing him off from Rin. And in this scene, where they meet each other again, the barriers come up and they walk towards each other.
Yes.
Yes!
And we get another version of their leitmotif. By the way, I think this movie literally has 3 different versions of their leitmotif worked into different songs.
It's RinHaru the movie. That's what they gotta do.
It really is. It really is RinHaru the movie. It is incredible, and you get kind of the combination of Ever Blue playing on the same side as their leitmotif, and that is really cool. I love that.
Well, that wraps up the free series, and that wraps up our discussion of everyone's favorite moments. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted those moments. We had so much fun talking about them.
It was really so much fun reliving the epic love story that is RinHaru. And we really hope that revisiting all these wonderful moments will get everyone's creative juices flowing and inspire you to create something special for this year's RinHaru Week.
Woo!
Now that we've gotten our inspiration from our favorite moments, we want to talk about how this year's RinHaru Week is going to go.
Since it's our 10th anniversary, we wanted to do something special to celebrate not only all the wonderful RinHaru moments that happened in canon, but also the amazing ways that fans have celebrated RinHaru over the years.
So for this year's prompts, we want to hear from you. We're putting out a poll filled with all the prompts from all our past events, and we want you to vote for your favorites.
And you can also submit ideas for new prompts in the form as well. But we want to make sure that we get these prompts out soon, so everyone has time to work on their submissions. So make sure to vote in the poll by October 23rd.
By the way, voting in the prompts poll will also count as an entry for this year's giveaway.
That's right! Every year we like to give away little RinHaru-themed prizes to thank people for participating in our event. And there's a ton of ways that we count that participation. Voting in the poll is just one of them.
Remember, RinHaru Week isn't just about artwork and fanfic, so feel free to submit merch photos, graphic edits and GIFs, sewing patterns, original songs, or anything else you can think of to celebrate your love of RinHaru.
Merch photos are some of my favorites. I love seeing people's plushies out in the wild. Like, please show me your little manju sitting next to your food when you're out at a restaurant so I can pretend that Rin and Haru are eating the food out on a date.
If you have any other ideas for a submission, make sure you check out our posting guidelines on Tumblr to see if it fits. And if you're unsure, you can always send us an ask. But for the most part, anything goes. We want to encourage as much participation as we can for our special celebration this year. And now it's your turn to show us a sight we've never seen before.
Thanks so much, everyone, for listening. We can't wait to see what you come up with for this year's RinHaru Week.